what if one fictional couple set the bar so incredibly high that literally every television romance that came after them just, well, it just felt like a massive disappointment.
Oh, man. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know that feeling.
Uh-huh.
You're sitting on your couch, you're watching this highly anticipated new show.
Right.
The music starts swelling, the lighting gets all soft and romantic, and the two leads finally pull it together after like an entire season of tension.
And you're just waiting for the payoff.
Yes. But instead of swooning, you're just sitting there feeling completely hollow. Like you look at the screen, you just think, well, they're no Jamie and Claire.
Yeah, it's kind of the ultimate pop culture conundrum, to be honest.
It really is. And welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are unpacking exactly that phenomenon today.
Because when a benchmark like Jamie and Claire Fraser from Outlander is set, that staggeringly high, it inevitably casts this massive shadow over everything else on television.
Oh, 100%. So our mission today is to figure out exactly why this specific dynamic completely breaks the mold. Like, why do they remain the absolute gold standard for on-screen relationships even years after they first appeared?
And it's not just the hardcore fans who feel this way, right?
Right, the ones who have been there since day one.
Exactly. The source we're looking at today points out that this phenomenon hits total newcomers, too. Like, people who just stumble onto the show today get hit with the exact same impact.
So just a quick heads up for you listening. We are going to get pretty passionate today.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe even a little emotional.
Mhm.
Because, honestly, it's genuinely hard not to when you're breaking down these two characters. But we are keeping this deep dive firmly grounded in the actual mechanics of the relationship.
Right. Like, how does it actually function under the hood? What are the psychological gears turning to make it work so well?
Exactly. And don't worry, if you haven't watched all the way through, we are keeping this entirely free of major plot spoilers. We're just looking exclusively at the overarching themes of how they operate as a unit.
Because to really understand it, you have to strip away that typical television romance formula.
The formula.
All right. Usually you get like fleeting physical chemistry, and then they pad it out with heavily manufactured, deeply unnecessary drama.
The classic will they, won't they. It gets so exhausting.
It really does. But our source argues the Fraser relationship operates on a completely different engine. It's forged in trust, genuine friendship, profound sacrifice, and just this absolutely unwavering devotion.
But, I mean, having two fiercely independent people from completely different centuries isn't inherently romantic.
No, not at all.
In reality, that is a powder keg. Like, to figure out how that engine actually runs without exploding, we have to look at the raw materials. So let's look at Claire. You have a former combat nurse from World War II.
Yeah.
She has literally seen the absolute worst of the modern world, right? She was putting bodies back together on the front lines.
Which is just incredible trauma right there.
Exactly. She's incredibly intelligent, relentlessly practical, and just fiercely independent. And then, through forces completely beyond her control, she gets dropped into 18th century Scotland.
Which is not exactly a friendly place for a modern woman.
To put it mildly, it's a violent, wildly unfamiliar, deeply patriarchal society. And her immediate response is just an absolute refusal to surrender her identity. She simply refuses to make herself smaller to survive in a world built entirely for men.
Yeah, and then you look at the other side of the equation. You have Jamie.
Right.
He is a young Scottish Highlander raised in a clan system where, the man's word is literal law.
Basically the absolute opposite of what Claire is used to.
Exactly. But his strength is completely devoid of that arrogance you would normally expect from that kind of upbringing. Our source highlights that he is undeniably brave and honorable, but what sets him apart is his staggering emotional intelligence.
Yeah, he's not just the standard brooding guy.
No, not at all. He isn't just a stoic warrior with a hidden soft side. He's a man who fundamentally values family, duty, and love over his own ego.
He's just so aware.
It really is. His compassion is just as pronounced and honestly just as lethal as his physical capability to wield a broadsword.
Okay, but let's unpack this for a second.
Yeah.
Because you've got a rigidly independent 1940s woman who expects full autonomy.
Right.
And a guy raised in an 18th century patriarchy where women are essentially treated as property. I mean, that shouldn't be romantic. That should be a total disaster.
Really sounds like it should be.
It's like taking two highly specialized experts from completely different fields, let's say, I don't know, a nuclear physicist and a poet, and forcing them to co-manage a crisis.
Yeah.
They're operating on two completely contradictory paradigms. Our source explicitly notes neither is perfect. So Doesn't Claire's rigid modern independence constantly clash with Jamie's 18th century sense of duty? How does that not just blow up in their faces?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the source actually credits those exact flaws for making them work.
Really, the flaws make it work.
Yeah, it's exactly that intense friction that makes them so relatable. If Claire were just some passive, compliant 18th century woman, or if Jamie were just a progressive modern guy walking around in a kilt, they'd flatten out.
They'd just be boring archetypes, yeah.
Exactly. The magic of their dynamic is in the clash. They have deep fundamental flaws and completely opposite worldviews, and those imperfections prevent them from becoming flat, flawless caricatures. It forces them to rely on something much deeper than just initial attraction.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like they're running on two fundamentally different operating systems.
Yeah.
Claire is running on this modern, individualistic software. She believes she answers to absolutely no one.
Right.
And Jamie is running on an 18th century, duty-bound, hierarchical system. And I feel like most television shows would just let those two systems crash repeatedly, generate a bunch of sparks, and just call that drama.
Oh, absolutely. But instead of letting the systems crash, they basically build an API.
Oh, I like that. A translation layer.
Yeah, a translation layer between the two centuries, because they realize very quickly that they can't just rely on intense physical attraction to bridge 200-year cultural gap.
Mhm.
They are forced to actively negotiate their relationship.
Right.
Jamie has all the societal power of the era, but he makes the conscious decision to share it with her. He defers to her medical knowledge, her strategic thinking, her understanding of history.
And Claire, in turn, has to learn to respect his leadership, right? And his really granular, life-saving understanding of the clan politics that literally keep them from getting killed.
Exactly. It's mutual respect over passion. They treat each other as absolute equals. And not because society tells them to.
Because society is explicitly demanding the exact opposite.
Right, but because they recognize the core competence in each other. It's a foundation of mutual respect that just completely overshadows pure physical passion.
And having that deep mutual respect means they just bypass the standard friction that keeps most television writers employed.
Oh, completely.
They actually listen.
Yeah.
They challenge each other's assumptions. And most importantly, they learn from one another's distinct worldviews. But here's where it gets really interesting to me.
Okay, yeah.
If a standard TV couple actually communicated like Jamie and Claire, a whole season of drama would be resolved in a 5-minute conversation.
Oh, totally. The show would be over.
Right. Think about the typical TV tropes we put up with. So many romances survive purely on a misunderstanding that could be solved if the characters sat in a room for 2 minutes and just spoke like adults.
The classic, I saw you talking to your ex across the street, assumed the worst, and spiraled for 6 episodes trope.
Exactly. That is the bread and butter of television drama. But Jamie and Claire confront their problems directly. So my question is, does their lack of typical misunderstanding drama make them less entertaining? Or does it just force the writers to find better, more external conflicts?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture the source presents, it forces the writers into a fascinating, much more difficult corner.
Also,
When you strip away that cheap manufactured drama of miscommunication, you have to rely on real storytelling. You can't use the character's emotional immaturity as a plot device. And that brings in this powerful concept from the source, the idea of choice versus destiny.
oh yes, I wanted to get into that.
Yeah, because so many romances lean heavily on the idea of soulmates. Like, destiny is doing all the heavy lifting in the narrative. The characters are fated to be together, which practically means they don't actually have to work for it.
Right. Destiny acts as a safety net. No matter how terribly they treat each other, the universe is just going to push them back together.
Exactly. But Jamie and Claire don't coast on destiny. They choose each other. Repeatedly. Across unimaginable boundaries of time, active war zones, vicious political maneuvering, and massive geographical distances.
It's the difference between that soulmate myth in real life, which, let's be honest, often sets people up for failure when reality hits,
Oh, 100%.
and the active choice mindset,
Yeah.
which actually builds psychological resilience. Like, if you believe the universe perfectly designed someone for you, the first major ugly fight makes you think the universe made a mistake.
You think, well, we fought, so we must not be soulmates.
Exactly. But if you see love as an active verb like the daily grueling decision to wake up and commit to this specific person despite their flaws, then external pressure doesn't break the bond.
And when a character looks at a seemingly impossible situation, a situation that threatens their very life, and consciously says, I am making the active choice to stay with this person anyway, it just resonates on a deeply profound psychological level.
It really does.
A simple written stars trope just cannot touch that level of human agency. It grounds the fantasy in a very real, mature understanding of what long-term commitment actually requires.
And because they communicate directly, and because they are making this active choice every single day, their conflict can't come from petty bickering inside the house.
Right, they aren't fighting over who forgot to do the dishes.
No. The writers have to find conflict somewhere else. It has to come from the world outside their door, which leads us to the crucible of sacrifice.
Yes. The world around them has to be brutal enough to test the absolute limits of that active choice. The environment demands just extraordinary sacrifices from both of them.
And the trials outlined in the source are staggering to even think about. We are talking about years of agonizing time separation.
It's just brutal.
Devastating family separation where they are ripped away from their children, constant visceral physical danger where survival is never guaranteed, immense emotional trauma, and profound recurring personal loss.
The writers put them through the absolute ringer. They really want to see if that translation layer of mutual respect holds up under the pressure of the 18th century.
But let me ask you a pointed question directly from the text here. Would their romance actually feel as powerful to us without these sacrifices?
That's a good question.
Like, let's imagine an alternate universe for a second. Let's say Jamie and Claire just meet in a modern coffee shop. They both work comfortable corporate jobs. They never have to fight a literal war, travel through time, or cross an ocean in a wooden ship.
They just have to, pay a mortgage.
Right. If they never had to face all that, would fans still care this much?
Well, the source analyzes this exact idea. If they were in a modern coffee shop, they would still have that fundamental respect and excellent communication, but the fire simply wouldn't have the same oxygen.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
It's about shared trauma. When a couple faces extraordinary hardship together, it exponentially increases the emotional weight and the intimacy of the relationship. It's almost a form of trauma bonding, but in an incredibly healthy, synchronized way.
Right, because they're acting as a true partnership during the crisis.
Exactly. It's not just that they individually survived a traumatic event, it's that they survived it together. They are survival partners. The stakes wouldn't be life or death in a coffee shop, so the devotion wouldn't need to be as absolute.
The constant threat of total annihilation kind of forces them to strip away all ego, all pretense.
Yeah, they have to operate with a level of radical, terrifying vulnerability that a normal, safe, modern environment just doesn't require. That intense crucible allows them to continually grow together over time.
Because usually in television, once the initial spark fades, couples naturally grow apart. The writers have to introduce like a new love interest or a scandalous affair to spice things up.
Right, but here the extreme punishing environment is the forge that continually hardens the steel of their relationship.
The trauma acts as an accelerant. It demands a level of loyalty that most modern relationships are never actually tested for. And it's this exact combination of deep communication and high-stakes survival that leads to the source's central thesis.
The idea that Jamie and Claire have basically ruined other fictional couples for the audience?
Yes, they've completely broken the grading curve. I love this part of the analysis. The source brings up some iconic pop culture matchups, and I am so excited to talk about them.
Oh, it's so fun. Let's do it.
How do Jamie and Claire stack up against, say, Kate and Anthony from Bridgerton? Or Benedict and Sophie?
Or what about Damon and Elena from The Vampire Diaries?
Right. Or let's take it entirely out of the drama sphere. Sitcom legends. Ross and Rachel from Friends, Jim and Pam from The Office. You line them up side by side, and the cracks in those other relationships become glaringly obvious.
Which raises an important question, right? What exactly are Jamie and Claire doing so differently than these other incredibly famous, globally beloved couples?
Are they just setting an unrealistic expectation for the viewer?
Yeah, like when you watch a couple navigate literal famine, war, and the loss of a child with unwavering loyalty, do you then look at a normal sitcom couple's communication problems and think, why are you complaining? Do fans struggle to connect with other couples simply because Jamie and Claire are just one of the best-written romances ever created? Or are they exposing lazy writing across the rest of the television landscape?
I mean, I would argue that comparing them to Ross and Rachel might be a little unfair.
Oh, totally different genres.
Right, but think about it. One couple is famously built on we were on a break, technicality, weaponized jealousy, and seasons of deliberately hiding their true feelings just to stretch out the episode count.
It's infuriating to watch sometimes.
It is. While the other couple is surviving the space-time continuum through rigorous honesty. So, is it that Jamie and Claire are too perfect, or do they just represent a willingness to support a strong partner that other shows are just afraid to depict?
Well, the fear of the boring happy couple is a real thing in TV. It drives showrunners to inject toxic traits into their romances just to keep the plot moving.
Because it's easier to write.
Yeah, much easier. They manufacture insecurity, jealousy, and deceit because having characters lie to each other is much simpler than designing a complex external plot. The writers of Outlander prove that you can have a deeply committed, fiercely loyal, hyper-communicative couple and still have thrilling television.
You just have to be willing to do the hard work of building a threatening world around them, rather than having them tear each other apart from the inside.
Right. They aren't too perfect. They are perfectly aligned against a hostile world. It's an us versus the problem mentality instead of a me versus you mentality.
Which is incredibly rare to see depicted well on screen. And I guess that brings us to the ultimate verdict posed by the source.
The big question.
Are Jamie and Claire the greatest television romance of all time?
Wow. It is a heavy crown for any fictional characters to wear, but the evidence supporting them is overwhelming.
It really is.
They set a staggeringly high bar for emotional vulnerability. Like Jamie's willingness to be completely, unashamedly emotionally open with a deeply independent, opinionated woman.
And Claire's willingness to trust him implicitly, despite her modern defensive instincts.
So exactly. It is a masterclass in character development. They show us what an equal partnership actually looks like when the chips are down and everything is on the line.
But playing devil's advocate here, I can impartially see how some viewers might find the standard just a bit too idealized.
Oh, sure.
Yes, they have flaws, they make mistakes, and they argue. But their devotion is so absolute, and their sacrifices are so immense, that it almost elevates them to a mythological status.
It's very epic.
Right. And if you are a viewer navigating the exhausting complexities of modern dating, swiping on apps, dealing with ghosting, managing everyday mundane conflicts over a text message, it might be hard to genuinely see yourself in a romance that survives a 200-year time jump and a Scottish rebellion.
It might feel like an impossible fantasy that is just out of reach for a normal person.
Exactly. It's profoundly beautiful, but maybe a bit unachievable.
But whether you view them as the absolute greatest of all time, or simply a beautifully constructed romantic fantasy, their impact on the cultural landscape is undeniable. They force every other show's writing room to look at their own couples, look at the manufactured drama they are leaning on, and ask, is this really the best we can do?
So what does this all mean for you listening? Analyzing a benchmark couple like Jamie and Claire isn't just about fandom. It's not just about obsessing over a great TV show.
Now, it goes much deeper than that.
It forces us to hold up a mirror and evaluate what we actually value in our real-world partnerships. Because fictional characters can be the absolute best teachers for real-world emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
It makes you ask yourself, do you value the dramatic passion of a misunderstanding, or do you value the safety of clearer communication? Do you believe in a passive destiny where the universe does the work? Or do you believe in the active, daily choice to love someone?
At the end of the day, we are all looking for our own version of that unwavering devotion. We are looking for the person who, when faced with the sheer chaos of life, chooses us every single time, without hesitation.
Which leaves me with a question for you from the source's closing thoughts. What fictional couple do you think can actually compete with Jamie and Claire?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Right. Look at your favorite shows, scan your favorite books. Is there a couple out there that actually measures up to that staggering standard of respect, active choice, and shared sacrifice? It's a remarkably tough list to make.
And I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over, building on that.
Oh, lay it on us.
We've talked extensively about how the profound strength of their bond was forged in the fires of literal wars, historical displacement, and constant life-or-death survival. Their intimacy is deeply tied to their shared trauma. But what if they were stripped of all that external pressure? If you took away the danger of the 18th century, the swords, the time travel, the constant looming threat of losing each other, could their epic romance actually survive the quiet, mundane routine of a normal, peaceful life? Or does their particular kind of fire require the danger of the 18th century to keep burning?
Oh, wow. Now that is a thought that will keep you up at night. Until next time, keep diving deep.